in the sky. I can go twice as high. Take a look. It's in a book. Reading rainbow. Reading rainbow. Hello, boys and girls. Today we're going to explore the wonderful novel by Hermann Hesse, Siddhartha, in which a Brahmin son learns the meaning of life and finds himself. I hope you enjoy. Sunshine on the riverbank by the boats. In the shade of the shallow wood and the fig tree, Siddhartha, the handsome Brahmin son, grew up with his friend Govinda. There was happiness in his father's heart because of his son who was intelligent and thirsty for knowledge. There was pride in his mother's breast when she saw him walking, sitting down, and rising. Love stirred in the hearts of the young Brahmin's daughters when Siddhartha walked through the streets of the town. Govinda, his friend, the Brahmin's son, loved him more than anything else. He loved everything that Siddhartha did and said, and above all, he loved his intellect. He wanted to follow Siddhartha, the beloved, the magnificent. That was how everyone loved Siddhartha. He delighted and made everybody happy, but Siddhartha was not happy himself.
I'm not happy.
Siddhartha had begun to feel the seeds of discontent within him. He had begun to feel the love of his father and mother, and also the love of his friend Govinda, would not always make him happy, give him peace, and satisfy and suffice him. He wanted to be successful, not only in having most profound knowledge, but in experiencing it. One must find the source within oneself. One must possess it. The Manas once passed through Siddhartha's town, wandering aesthetics. They were 3 thin, worn-out men, neither old nor young, with dusty and bleeding shoulders, practically naked, scorched by the sun, solitary, strange, and hostile. In the evening, after the hour of contemplation, Siddhartha said to Govinda,
Govinda, my friend, tomorrow I'm going to join the Samanas. I'm going to be a Samana.
Siddhartha was going his own way. His destiny was beginning to unfold itself, and with his destiny, his own. Upon waking, as with benumbed legs, he slowly left the still sleeping town at daybreak. A crouching shadow emerged from the last hut and joined the pilgrim. It was Govinda.
Yo, come.
I have come. Siddhartha gave his clothes to a poor Brahmin on the road. He only ate once a day and never cooked food. He fasted 14 days. He fasted 28 days. Siddhartha had one single goal, to become empty of thirst, desire, dreams, pleasure, and sorrow.
What do you think, Ivana? Govinda?
We have learned and we are still learning. Someday you will become a great Samana, Siddhartha.
I don't think so. Soon, Govinda, your friend will leave the path of the Samanas, which I have traveled with you for so long. I suffer thirst, Govinda. And on this long Samana path, my thirst is growing less. I've always thirsted for knowledge. I have always been full of questions.
Once, when both youths had lived with the Samanas about 3 years, they heard a rumor. Someone had appeared called Gautama, the illustrious, the Buddha. He had conquered in himself the sorrows of the world and had brought to a standstill the cycle of rebirth. He wandered through the country preaching, surrounded by disciples, having no possessions, homeless, without a wife, wearing the yellow cloak of an ascetic, but with a lofty brow, a holy man. And Brahmins and princes bowed before him and became his pupils. The 2 young ascetics left the Samanas in their search for Gautama's abode.
Let's go search for that abode.
Look, Govinda. It's the Buddha.
In the evening, when the heat abated and everyone in the camp was alert and gathered together, they heard the Buddha preach.
Life was pain. The world was full of suffering, but the path to release from suffering has been found, my friends. There was salvation for those who went the way of the Buddha.
Govinda came forward and asked to be accepted into the community, and the Buddha accepted him and said,
You have listened well to the teaching. Join us, and we'll walk in bliss. Put an end to suffering.
My friend, you have taken the step. You have chosen your path. You always have gone a step behind me. Now you are a man and have chosen your own path. May you go along it to the end. But there's one thing that is clear. Worthy instruction does not contain. It does not contain the secret of what the illustrious one himself experienced. That is why I'm going on my way, not to seek another and better doctrine, for I know there is none, but to leave all doctrines and all teachers, and to reach my goal alone, or die.
No!
The Buddha has robbed me. He has robbed me of my friend who believed in me and who believes in him. He was my shadow and is now Gautama's shadow. But he has given to me Siddhartha, myself.
In the town, by a beautiful, unfenced grove, the wanderer met a small train of men and women servants loaded with baskets. In the middle sat a woman, the mistress. Siddhartha saw how beautiful she was, and in his heart he rejoiced. He felt the urge to enter her grove immediately.
Wow, she's a babe. I want to follow her into her grove. No, I can't. I'm a samana. I can't do that. No.
Early in the morning, before the first customers arrived in the shop, Siddhartha had his hair combed and rubbed with fine oil. Then he went to bathe in the river.
I have come to thank you because you are so beautiful. And if it does not displease you, Kamala, I would like to ask you to be my friend and teacher. For I do not know anything of the art of which you are mistress.
No, he is not yet good enough. He must have clothes, fine clothes, and shoes, fine shoes, and plenty of money in his purse, and presents for Kamala. Do you understand now, Samana from the woods?
I understand very well. How could I fail to understand when it comes from such a mouth? Your mouth is like a freshly cut fig, Kamala. My lips are also red and fresh too, and it will fit yours. You will see. So Siddhartha will come again when he has what he is lacking in clothes, shoes, money. But tell me, fair Kamala, will you give me a kiss for a poem?
I will do so if your poem pleases me.
Into her grove went the fair Kamala. At the entrance to the grove stood the brown Samana. As he saw the lotus flower, deeply he bowed. Smiling, acknowledged Kamala. Better thought the young Samana to make sacrifices to the fair Kamala than to offer sacrifices to the gods.
Your poetry is very good, Brown Samana, and truly there is nothing to lose if I give you a kiss for it. If I were rich, I would give you money for it, for you will need much money if you want to be Kamala's friend. Can you read and write?
Certainly I can.
I cannot. It's very good that you know how. Kamaswami is the richest merchant in the town. If you please him, he will take you into his service. I do not want you to be a servant, but his equal. Otherwise, I shall not be pleased with you.
Siddhartha went to see Kamaswami, the merchant, and was shown into a rich house. been told that you are a Brahmin, but you seek service with a merchant. Will you write something for me on the sheet? Writing is good, thinking is better. Cleverness is good, and patience is better. You write very well. Today I invite you to be my guest and to live in my house. Clothes and shoes were brought to Siddhartha by a servant. A bath was prepared for him daily, and splendid meals were served twice a day. He was not long in Kamaswami's house when he was already taking part in his master's business. Daily, Siddhartha visited the beautiful Kamala in handsome clothes, fine shoes. He learned many things from her wise red lips.
Ow!
They played the game of love, one of the 30 or 40 different games which Kamala knew. Her body was as supple as a jaguar and a hunter's bow. Whoever learned about love from her learned many pleasures, many secrets. She played with Siddhartha for a long time, repulsed him, overwhelmed him, conquered him, rejoiced at her mastery until he was overcome and lay exhausted. The years passed by. Siddhartha had become rich. He possessed a house of his own and his own servants. He had learned how to transact business affairs, exercise power over people, amuse himself with women. He had learned to wear fine clothes, command servants, bathe in sweet-smelling waters, and eat sweet and carefully prepared foods, as well as drinking wine, which made him lazy and forgetful. He had learned to play dice and chess, watch dancers, be carried in a sedan chair, and to sleep in a soft bed. Slowly, the soul sickness of the rich crept over him. Then he had a dream. Mala kept a small, rare songbird in a small golden cage. It was about this bird that Siddhartha dreamt. This bird, which usually sang in the morning, became mute. And as this surprised him, Siddhartha went to the cage and looked inside. The little bird was dead and lay stiff on the floor. He took it out, held it a moment in his hand, and then threw it away on the road. At the same moment, he was horrified, and his heart ached as if he had thrown away with this dead bird all that was good and of value in himself. Awakening from this dream, he was overwhelmed by a feeling of great sadness. How flat and desolate his path had been, how many long years he had spent without any goal, without any thirst. Content with small pleasures and yet never really satisfied.
This game is over. I can't play it any longer.
Try to find him. She was not surprised when she learned that Siddhartha had disappeared. When she heard the first news of his disappearance, she went to the cage where she kept the rare golden songbird. She opened the door of the cage, took the bird out, and let it fly away. From that day on, she received no more visitors and kept her house closed. After a time, she found that she was with a child as a result of her last meeting with Siddhartha. The songbird was dead. Its death, which he had dreamt about, was the bird in his own heart. Siddhartha reached the long river in the wood.
Where do I go from here?
He looked down and was completely filled with the desire to let himself go and be submerged in the water. He was at the end.
Let the crocodiles and fish devour me.
Then, from a remote part of his soul, from the past of his tired life, his slumbering soul suddenly awakened, and he recognized the folly of his action. The past now seemed to be covered by a veil, extremely remote, very unimportant. Then, he fell asleep. Siddhartha awoke and saw a strange monk sitting across from him staring.
You are sleeping.
I thank you, Samana, for guarding my sleep.
I am going. May you keep well.
Goodbye, Govinda.
Excuse me, sir. How do you know my name? You are Siddhartha. It gives me great pleasure to see you again. Where are you going?
I am making a pilgrimage.
You are making a pilgrimage, but few make a pilgrimage in such clothes, in such shoes, and with such hair. I, who have been wandering for many years, have never seen such a pilgrim.
Remember, my dear Govinda, the world of appearances is transitory.
For a long time, Govinda looked doubtfully at the friend of his youth. Then he bowed to him, as one does a man of rank, and went on his way.
I will remain by this river. A friendly ferryman took me across this river. I will go to him. My name is Siddhartha, and I was a samana when you last saw me.
You are welcome, Siddhartha. My name is Vasudeva. Stay with me. There's room and food for the both of us.
Siddhartha stayed with the ferryman and learned from the river, how to listen with a still heart, a waiting, open soul, without passion, without desire, without judgment, and without opinions.
The years passed and nobody counted them. Then one day, when very many people were making a pilgrimage to the dying Buddha, Kamala, once the most beautiful of courtesans, was also on her way. She had set off on foot wearing simple clothes together with her son. Kamala herself was tired, and while the boy ate a banana, she crouched down on the ground. Suddenly, she uttered a cry of pain. Ah! The boy, startled, looked at her. From under her clothes, a small black snake which had bitten Kamala crawled away. They both ran on quickly in order to reach some people. They soon arrived at the hut where Siddhartha was standing. He looked up and first saw the boy's face, which strangely reminded him of something. Then he saw Kamala, whom he recognized immediately.
Kamala!
Kamala soon died from her wounds, and she left her son with his father, Siddhartha. The son remained with Siddhartha for several years, yet never felt fatherly love for him. He soon set out on his own, leaving Siddhartha again alone by the river. One day, Vasudeva looked into Siddhartha's eyes and saw the serenity of knowledge shining in them. He informed Siddhartha that he had waited for this hour and he was now going to go, leaving Siddhartha in command of the river and the ferry. Siddhartha was now at peace with himself. And then Govinda came.
Bend here, kiss me on the forehead.
Although surprised, Govinda was compelled by great love and presentiment to obey him. As he did this, something wonderful happened to him. The smile of Siddhartha was exactly the same as the calm, delicate, impenetrable, perhaps gracious, perhaps mocking, wise, thousandfold smile of Gautama, the great Buddha. Govinda bowed low. Incontrollable tears trickled down his old face. He was overwhelmed by a feeling of great love. He bowed low, right down to the ground in front of the man sitting there motionless, whose smile reminded him of everything that he had ever loved in his life, of everything that had ever been of value and holy in his life. During his time on the river, Siddhartha learned through his body and soul that it was necessary for him to sin, that he needed lust, that he needed to strive for property and experience nausea and the depths of despair in order to learn not to resist them, in order to learn to love the world. Hesse showed in his novel such themes as true wisdom can only be acquired through your own personal experience, not the experience of others. He also showed you, boys and girls, to accept what life brings you. Nothing's perfect. We hope you enjoyed our program today, and we hope you will look into this book. See you tomorrow.